Hi, this is Robert Hamilton Owens, and today you are listening to Vibe 105.
This is Vibe Talks, exclusively on Vibe 105.
Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Aulino reporting for Vibe 105 with a Sports VIBEtalks segment where I'm honored to be joined by my guest today. He is a former pararescue. He is Robert Hamilton Owens. How you doing, Robert?
Hey, good to see you.
And like Robert, we were talking before the interview here, just some of the stuff you've been doing athletically and for someone your age too. Like, what made you motivated to try this at your age? Just triathlete and just getting involved in athletics?
You know, all my life in some capacity, I've been involved in water polo or swimming or running or something like that. And that took me into the special ops military and the Air Force, being a pararescueman. And then I got out and I read this Sports Illustrated article on the toughest event in the world. It was called an Ironman. And it was year 3. It was back when guys showed up with, like me, I showed up with a rented bicycle, swim trunks, a baseball cap, no toe clips, on your bike. Just bring your A game and show up, dude. And so I enjoyed doing that Ironman in year number 3 in 1980, which was in Honolulu before it went to Kona. And then I found myself just having 5 kids and I needed mental therapy to keep myself sane. So I kept working out and doing things, and that led to 12 Ironman finishes and just a bunch of other stuff. So I've always used sports either for fun or for therapy to get away and think about my life.
And 2020 was a unique year, like everything's shut down. So you, instead of just shutting down, you decided to do 7 triathlons and 7 continents.
That was one of the things I did. It's called World Marathon Challenge. It's 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents. And so being not a runner, I said, I wonder if I could do that. I have the thing inside me that maybe many of the listeners have, and that is this thing that goes, what if? What if? I wonder if I could really do that. And we all think like that, when you see something, I wonder if I could do that. And this guy said to me, hey, Owens, you need to try the 777. And I said, that's stupid. I mean, nobody runs 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents. They go, yeah, they do. So I trained and called around, how do you train for something like that, And anyway, I trained and went out and did it and high-fived myself at the end, like, hey, champ, you pulled that thing off. It was a lot of fun. And anyway, it was just another challenge to see. I wonder if I had that inside of me too.
And when you're actually doing it, just what is involved in it and how do you stay mentally prepared, prepared, but like just mentally focused on each continent? And I'm sure sleep is a big factor, that your sleep is changing. So how do you stay mentally prepared for that?
You don't really stay mentally prepared. You sort of stay mentally aware that whatever you do today, there's another one in 12 to 15 hours. And so you just sort of get yourself in a compartment where you think about not the whole race, you think about the next 100 yards or the next 5 minutes. And you practice staying in a mental zone, a mind frame, where you eat the elephant one bite at a time. If I wanted to do 7 marathons, I couldn't do it. But if I could just do one, and I could do that one by breaking it down in my head, which is sort of bizarre, but I have compartments in my head like you'd have a dresser drawer. I pull out a compartment and I think on something and I shut it, and I open another drawer in my head and I think on that and I shut it. And so I break this thing down into segments. Like, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one segment at a time. And then you get your breathing squared away, so you get your emotional control. Like we train our special ops kids today on how to have mindfulness or mindset or resilience. Get a hold of your mind, because the mind quits before the body does. And then you train your mind, and then you go out and you knock out those segments. And pretty soon you've done seven days, and you've stayed in control mentally versus being overwhelmed by the stuff that comes at you during those 7 days. So there's a process for me of working on self-mastery in my endurance events where I discipline my mind.
Just speaking of just being exhausted there, like you also did a 50-hour Kokoro Navy SEAL Hell Week simulator at age 69. I looked at YouTube to see what this was. And at 27 years old, I don't even think I could probably do that. So how did you do this at 69 years old?
The deal was I wanted to see in my 60s if I could be as strong as I was in my 20s. And obviously, I don't have the same body. But I knew that if I put my time and focused on this, the record was a lot younger than me. And I said, I wonder if I could get the record from that guy and do it. So I spent 3 years and I began to work on my upper body weight. I did, body weight stuff, burpees and push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, runs, all those kind of things. And as my body began to grow again, I fed it with, good protein and blah, blah, blah. And these Navy SEAL instructors said, don't show up, Owens. We're going to crush you. You're stupid. You're old. Stay home. And one guy said, now you ought to try it. So anyway, I trained for the 3 years, got surgery on both my shoulders before the event because I tore up my shoulders just getting ready for it. And then got into this thing. And again, one bite at a time. I can't do 100 burpees, but I can do another 5. I can do another 10, then do 5 more. And you break it down into pieces. I coach people today on mental things. And when you break that stuff down, you find that you can stay in the game by keeping emotional control. Anyway, actually, if I'd known how hard it was, I shouldn't have done it. But somehow at the end, I survived myself. And I did it. And when the guy shook my hand, he said, hey, we're proud of you. You're an old guy. You beat some of these young 20-year-olds. I said, thank you very much, sir. And then they said, and now? I said, now I'm going to go run my 12th Ironman in 3 weeks. And they looked at me and they said, why? I said, because it's on my bucket list while I'm in shape. I'm going to knock this stuff out. And then after that, I'm going to do the 777. And that's going to be in 3 weeks after that. So I appreciate this 50-hour thing, but it's not the big deal. I got 2 more to go. And the Navy SEAL commander just looked at me and said, what's with you? I said, I just wanted to get that smile out of your face, sir.
And what was the most difficult part of that, just the whole SEAL Hell Week simulator, like that you found to be more wear and tear on your body than maybe you probably didn't anticipate going into it?
You can't understand. You can't understand what sleep deprivation does to your brain. You can't think straight, and when you're doing this 9-hour climb or 9-mile climb, you got to go with a heavy ruck. You've been going since 6 a.m, and at 10 o'clock at night, after you've done your Murph, and then you've done your mile run, and then you've done your PT test, they then take you up the mountain, and you have to do a 9-mile ruck up this mountain into the snow and the rain. And then you have to run down that mountain. And they're guys that hallucinate. They're seeing animals, they're seeing all kinds of hotels that aren't there. You get out of your mind, you're so tired. And so you have to work on that mind thing. And probably what was the most amazing to me was just not letting the coach's negativity get inside my head where I started to believe what they said. The goal of the coach is to take their negativeness and get into your positiveness. And they try to get you to second guess why you're doing this. So every 2 minutes with these Navy SEAL coaches, they call you names like you effing puke, or you effing embarrassment, or why don't you effing quit, or we don't want you here. You're a loser. And if you hear that every 2 minutes for 50 hours, after a while, you start to say, maybe I am. Maybe I really don't want to be here. Maybe I really don't want to do this next all-nighter. But again, if you don't let them in your head, and the reason they do that is when you're out fighting Al-Qaeda or ISIS, they're not going to say, how do you feel? They're not going to say, you want to have a timeout and have a lemonade. Smell weakness. If they can break you mentally, they have you. So the simulation of this is someone's going to try to steal your will to live. And are you going to let them, no matter if you're shot or hurting or whatever it is? So it's the mental game of being in this place mentally where you keep going if you have sleep or no sleep, food, no sleep, or no food, or shots. And what are you going to do? Say, I'm hurt, time out? No, you still find a way to win. And they want to build that mental resiliency in you. And that's probably the hardest of the 5 events that I did was just the mental component. I was not completely in control of my mind space. They were in my mind all the time trying to break me. That's, unless you practice that, that's a tough thing, especially when you have no sleep.
And where did this take place, the simulator?
The Navy SEAL headquarters is down in Coronado, California, which is San Diego. And right above it, there's a place called Encinitas. And then you go inland about 30 minutes, there's a dirt area called Temecula. So they start you off in the dirt Temecula, and they take you to a mountain, and then they take you to the ocean. And they take you back to the dirt. And they keep you wet and muddy and sandy for 50 straight hours. So all your exercises are done with gravel in your pants and gravel in your shoes, and you're just wet, and they put you in ice baths the whole night, and they just make sure that you're miserable. But miserable won't kill you. It just makes you miserable. And you have to learn to enjoy miserable.
And you mentioned they're like hallucinations. Did you find yourself hallucinating at all during that?
I did, yeah. I thought I heard people talking to me that weren't talking to me. I had to turn to a guy and say, "Did you say that?" And he goes, "No one's talking to you, Owens." I went, "Oh, okay." And I knew that, I was on the edge mentally. So I stayed close to guys that seemed like they were together and only did what they did, try not to think what was in my head.
And then how did you get back to being, I guess like it's hard when they're saying the stuff that you were talking about before, but like, how did you make yourself grounded again and back to being aware of your surroundings?
These things are called evolutions. They're tests. And in that 50 hours, you have over 50 evolutions or 50 tests. And once you make it through the one, then they change you again. Like almost every time you get done, they spray you down with water or they put you back in the ice bath, like Wim Hof. And when the change comes, your mind changes too. It reboots. You're done with that misery. Now get ready for this. It's not like a continual same misery. It's this is for an hour. This is for 30 minutes. And once you reboot your brain, then you come into a new place. Your mind sort of wakes up and you find yourself with renewed energy. Like I just made it through that one. Thank goodness. I wonder what's going to happen this time. And you reboot and you start again.
I don't know how you did that, but kudos to you for that, because like the triathlon stuff and just all the marathons you're doing, did you find that there was one area like not as strenuous as some of the other workouts that you had to go through?
My book is called Beyond Average because I'm really not good at things in the sense that I swim, but I'm not a swimmer. I run, all of us can run, but I'm not really a runner. I mean, when you see a real runner, you say that's a runner, and I can ride a bike, but I'm not really a bicyclist. And so all of the events for me are a test to see if I can pull it off that day in these conditions. And so nothing's easy. There's much better athletes out there than me, but most of them have not sharpened their pencil as long as I have. If you put in your 10,000 hours, you can be a concert violinist. And if you put in your 10,000 hours working on your mind and working on your ability to bounce back or stay in the game with other people better than you around you, you find that those guys quit and you stay in your little mental game and you survive and you get to the end. So when I do 12 Ironmans, including, Honolulu and then World Championships in Kona and those things, I'm probably the least of the athletes out there. But I know myself and I know the way I think and I know the way I've been trained mentally, and you play like you train. And so all of them are hard for me. There's nothing that's easy, but you learn to figure stuff out. And my strength is that I've learned who I am, what I'm capable of at each new decade, and then how to stay in the game when others are losing it or having a tough time. And I just keep in my head and do my thing. And lo and behold, I get to the finish line and I high-five myself again, say, "Hey, you did it again." And I go, "Hey, I did it again." Like I did a half Ironman 2 weeks ago. And it was just a trip. I hadn't done it since COVID. I had a bad case of COVID and I had bad lungs. And so this was the first time I've been able to breathe in the swim in 2.5 years. So I went back out and thought, okay, this will be interesting after COVID. See if I can, 2.5 years later, do a swim again. And I trained for it, blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, I knocked out that mile swim and thought, I think I have capability again. So you just work on this stuff all the time.
And just speaking of doing stuff all the time, brings us to our next point here. In honor of Veterans Day, you're going to be rowing across the Atlantic Ocean to bring awareness to veteran suicide. Can you talk to us of how this all came about and what drew you towards this cause?
I've been around lots of veterans in the past that have committed suicide. We lose 18 to 20 veterans every day. The veteran suicide rate in the United States is 50% higher than the civilian suicide rate. Our guys come home with issues, with snakes in their head from deployments. And, or just, it could be TBI, traumatic brain injury from concussions or getting hit in the head, or what you see in football, you just get hit in the head. Yeah, I got issues. Anyway, a friend of mine, a Navy SEAL coach that I coach with recently, looked at me and went home. And after doing I'm now a coach at one of those 50-hour events. And he and I would do the all-night sessions for 6 years together, coaching these kids and making them feel lousy like they made us feel lousy. He went home and blew his head off. And he just didn't say anything to anybody. I mean, all of us said, how did he do that? I mean, we didn't smell or see that thing coming at all. Anyway, I felt that I needed to hop in more in the area of helping veterans or helping people with suicide stuff. And so, as with these other events, someone said, you've done a lot of stuff, Robert. Why don't you row a boat across the Atlantic? And I said, well, that's stupid. Who does that? And the guy goes, I just did it. It was rad. You'd love it. And I said, you did? And he goes, yeah, this is a guy that's run the Sahara 3 times. And he's an endurance guy too, He's out there. And he's 20 years clean and sober. I think he probably better off drinking. When he's sober, he does these wild things, like, dude, you think too much. Anyway, said, hey, Robert, you need to do this, and I'll get you a slot. And sure enough, I got a phone call from London. Would you like to row on a team of 12 across the Atlantic? It's 3,500 miles. It's going to be 40 to 45, 50 days. You're on for 3 hours rowing, and you're off 3 hours sleeping. And you're on 3, off 3, on 3, off 3 for 40 days. So I leaped at it because it's a mental test. It's an aerobic thing, not an anaerobic. Anaerobic is where you jack your heart up and you can't breathe. Aerobic is where you just keep your heart rate pretty much the same, but you do it for a long, long, long time. And so with my mental resiliency work that I do with people, helping them think better, I thought this would be a great test. But I thought, I want to do this in memory of a friend of mine, Mark Crampton. And Mark is a guy that just killed himself and left his wife and kids. So I'm doing the Mark Crampton Memorial Row, and that's the charity that I'm rowing for. And we're raising money for veteran suicide issues. And so it combines this challenge with a purpose. And the purpose is we're raising funds. We have programs for veterans that this guy, Mark, didn't take advantage of. He watched these programs that we have for suicide, PTSD kind of stuff with Army, Navy, Marines, and Air Force kind of guys, but he never signed up for it, and we never knew he needed to. And so we run retreats. We fly guys in, pay their hotel, pay their food, fly them in, put them with a therapist, put them with some other veterans, and we help them begin to process their stuff. And then we put them into small groups. We call them boat crews, the Navy term. Put them with another veteran, and we help them process every week accountability and stuff. I'm working on their mental health. And so we did a lot of work prior to the pandemic. We had great success. And then the pandemic came and the guys stopped and the money dried up. And so I said, we need more money. We need to get this thing back up and operating again. So it's my way of jumping in and saying, here's something good that I can do to help other people, which I think all of us should be involved helping other people in some capacity. It helps them, but it really helps us because it gets our mind off of our stuff and puts it on. Those people have it so much worse than we do. So I'm looking forward to, we start on December 4th from the Canary Islands off of Spain, and we'll drop down towards Africa, and then we'll get in the current, and we'll go on across on the equator all the way to the Caribbean. And it'll be 50 miles a day, hopefully. And you do 3,500 miles at 50 miles a day. It'll be a long 40 days. Another challenge.
Another challenge to get through, because if all the other challenges you did and you achieved like everything possible in them, do you think this might be tougher because you're going to be in the ocean?
No, I think that it's not going to be so much the physical thing, except I've been working a lot on my glutes and my hamstrings and my core because you're sitting 12 hours a day. You're rolling 12 hours a day. And that position is not a stretching position. When you wake up or when you stand up, it's hard to stretch. Your back is all tight. And to do that 12 hours a day for 40 plus days, I thought that would be the physical challenge versus how hard it will be, like out of breath stuff. And I thought it would be this thing where I could use my mind and I could practice what I teach and coach others on emotional control, mental control, and how do you do this one bite at a time. So it'll be a good test for me at 71 years old to say, okay, I'll come back and then I'll go on the speaking circuit again. And I have a deal with my wife. She says, "Don't you know you're a retiree?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm having fun as a retiree." She said, "Well, you cannot spend any of our money on your stupid things." And I said, "Come on." She goes, "No, they're stupid. If you're going to do them, you have to pay for them." And she goes, "I know you don't have any money, so you can't do them." I said, "I'll go earn it." And she said, "You can't get that money." So this one's cost me $30,000 so far. $30,000 for all kinds of things that have come up. And the way I've paid for it is by going out and speaking. And I speak at universities or schools or different places, and they bring me in and have me tell stories and encourage them. And then I take that honorarium and put it in my kitty. And I say, "This is the money, honey. This money's going to get me to the next adventure, whether you like it or not." And she just shakes her head. So she dared me on this one that I couldn't raise the money. I've been speaking for a year and raised $30,000 through speaking. And now I go around and tell people about this different stuff that I do. I was a business coach for a long time. So I've traveled and spoke and coached in the business world, leadership management stuff. But this is the sports side of things. And so if I can keep having you folks invite me to come speak places, I can do more adventures and I can get my wife to just keep shaking her head.
Well, that's great. And I commend you for that. And I encourage all our listeners and viewers here to visit robroseforvets.org and make a donation there and just keep up to date there with the Courage Foundation. Just learn more about that. And Robert, I really appreciate you sharing your time here and coming on Vibe 105 to speak about this. And I wish you all the best with it.
Thanks so much. And if you guys want to go to my website is just my name. It's roberthamiltonowens.com. And there you can do Rob Rose 4, the number 4 vets. You can find the link there, or you can just go to Rob Rose number 4 for vets, and you can communicate with me. Ask me a question or write me something. I'll probably write you back and you'll say, "He really did. He wrote me back." So it'll be fun. But you're doing a good job. Thanks for your radio program.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And I highly encourage everybody to give that follow, check that out. And we'll put the link in the description there when this video is up. Thanks a lot, Robert.
You bet. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Vibe Talks, exclusively on Vibe 105.